So welcome along to A Story to Tell with me, Richard Beauvoisin. This is mainly taken from my Radio Bath show every Thursday morning from 10 until 12. If you do like it, don't forget to subscribe, share it to others and let everyone know all about Radio Bath. Hope you enjoy it. Always like that track. There's Adore You by Harry Styles. It's Richard Beauvoisin here right until midday today. Thanks to Gerard, entertaining as always. Okay, so today on A Story to Tell, I've got the lovely Darius Jean. He's currently setting up his camera, which is fascinating for me to watch. I'm not really sure why, but we're going to find out as we go along. So he's a headshot portrait photographer. I think I've got that right. And he's here all morning. I'm going to find out lots about him, about his work, and about how he does stuff. If you have any questions for him, it's studio@radiobath.com, or you can text Bath, followed by a message to 80011.
Lights, camera, action, that's it.
It felt like the most obvious track ever to play, Darius. Good morning, by the way.
Good morning. Good morning.
So that was Lights, Camera, Action by Kylie Minogue. Did you know that?
I did. I heard it.
And I was like, what's the cheesiest photography film camera thing that I can possibly think of? And that's the song that came up in my head.
You had it all thought through, right?
Well, of course. I'm fully on top of everything this morning.
That's great.
It's that classic thing, isn't it? You set yourself a time, and then you come out to the car, and then you realise it's covered in ice, and you go, oh, no.
Yeah.
And it puts you back 5 minutes.
It
But
does.
There we go. How are you today, anyway?
I'm very well. Very well.
Good. And whereabouts are you based?
I'm in Oldfield Park in Bath.
Okay, cool.
So, very local.
Very local indeed. Now, are you ready for your desert? Do you ever listen to Desert Island Discs?
I have listened.
They do a little intro. I've written you an intro.
Okay.
You ready? Hopefully this is half accurate.
That'd be good to hear.
It'd be nice. Okay, so
I get to know hear a bit about myself.
You're going to find out lots about yourself, as are we, which is quite nice. So joining us today on A Story to Tell is Darius Jean. Is that correct pronunciation?
Indeed. It's French.
It is French. Who is a photographer and has just hosted a portrait exhibition to celebrate developing health and independence charity who provide housing and drug and alcohol treatments for people across Bath and Somerset. Was that accurate enough?
That was very accurate.
That was accurate enough. Good. So you're a photographer.
I am.
Tell us about how you became to be a photographer.
Okay, how I became to be a photographer. I had a careers officer interview me at school, and he asked me what I wanted to be.
That classic question.
And I said, I want to become a photographer.
Okay.
I went to school in the East End, and he was a little bit perturbed by the fact that I said I wanted to be a photographer, and suggested maybe I should go into building, become a bricklayer, plumber.
Why?
I have no idea. I think it's what was expected for boys from the East End.
Right.
So at that point, he asked me, did I know any photographers, and why did I want to become a photographer?
Yeah.
I didn't really know that much about photography then, and I felt like the real reason I wanted to be a photographer was so I could have lots of flexibility in my life. So I wasn't stuck in a 9-to-5 job where I'd have to go to work in the morning and finish at 5-6 o'clock on a daily basis. I had this idea that I would just be on jobs momentarily and then done, and then till the next job came up. So I wanted that freedom and flexibility in my life.
Okay. So this is at school age.
Yes.
So did you immediately then become a photographer? That was it?
Yes. Well, contrary to the careers officer's belief, I went off, and my first job was in a darkroom in London. Right. The London darkroom, very famous because we worked with some of the top photographers in London. Lord Snowdon being one of them. Okay. Harry Ormisher, Beverly Goodway, who's responsible for page 3 models at that time.
Sadly, I knew that. As soon as you said it, I was like, why do I remember that? Why have I seen that name somewhere? What's your thoughts on... Obviously, it's defunct now. No more page 3. Yeah. Okay. And I'm going to say, for those aren't aware, this was page 3 of The Sun, for those that can't remember these days, and it was topless women.
It was.
On a daily basis, on a national newspaper.
It was.
You look back now and you kind of think, really?
Yeah.
We did that?
Yeah, it was part of the institution, really.
Yeah.
And yeah, I kind of think back and thought, wow, I was actually part of that because I processed the films. I went to the studio to pick up the films. I processed the films, put them on a contact sheet, and then I'd deliver them back to him. It's just something that struck me quite recently, actually. Wow, I was actually part of that whole institution. So, yeah.
I once danced with Sam Fox.
Oh, wow.
So many years ago, this is probably 20 years ago, when I was still young. And we were part of the marketing team for our dance company. And we were at an event where we had to go along and dance with the stars. And Sam Fox was one of those people that I had to dance with.
Incredible.
And she's tiny.
Yeah,
she's so small.
Very short. Yeah,
It was kind of a very bizarre scenario. And I was living in Oxford at the time, and I was like, "How am I getting home?" They went, "Oh, that's okay. We're paying for a taxi for you to get home."
Oh,
this is in central London. We were in
at
this point, and I was like, "That's going to cost a fortune." I'm like, "We don't care. It's part of the deal." I'm like, "Blimey."
Look at you.
I know. Everything's been downhill from then. It really has. Nothing's ever surpassed that moment of dancing with Sam Fox in central London. I think it was for like jewellery or something like that she was promoting at the time.
Okay.
But yeah, anyway, back to you.
Well, I never got to dance with her.
Did you not?
No.
No, she was okay. I'll go that far.
Not professional at dancing.
No.
Okay.
No, definitely not professional at dancing. So you're in the dark room.
Yeah.
What happened then?
Yeah, so I'm in the darkroom. I've in the darkroom for many years, processing and printing black and white images and processing film. And at some point, I then got into promoting club nights.
Okay.
And I took a picture of a tramp in London, and I captioned it, "Never Lose Your Smile," and I printed that on photographic paper, which hadn't been done, and probably it hasn't been done up till now, and it was really successful. So at that point, I kind of pivoted into club promotions, and
when you say club promotions, as in nightclub
promotions,
right.
Yeah. So
I'm trying to get the link here of the tramp being promoted for the club.
Yeah, so it was year of 1989, and it was the year of the smiley face.
Yeah.
So the caption, "Never Lose Your Smile," with a tramp who was down and out, was still smiling. It caught people's imagination, and it became very successful as a brand back then.
Okay, because you always need to have an angle, don't you?
Yeah.
Whatever you are doing. I was chatting to my crew last night, and they said, "Where do you get your guests from? Because you always seem to have interesting guests." And then we discussed about the fact that, would they want to come on? And they was like saying, "I'm not really sure what I'd talk about." Obviously, you have an interesting life in regarding your photography side of it. And, it's like the photography itself. You need to have that moment of, what does this photo mean?
Yeah.
Where is it coming from? Or is it just another photo?
It's always about interpretation. If it's just another photo, then it's just another photo, and it will just be dismissed.
Yeah.
But photo has to be engaging. It has to tell a story, and it has to captivate the imagination of the reader, the person who's looking at it. So, yeah.
Okay. So you're now in the dark room. You've now created the club photography. What happens next?
Well, I then got into clubbing, and I felt as a promoter I needed to be in the club scene regularly to know what was going on, to listen to the DJs. And so I went into the club circuit for a really very long time. I was clubbing a lot. Photography pretty much went out the window. And it was all about going out clubbing pretty much every night of the week in London. It got a little bit dark, and I continued to be in the club scene with everything that goes with that.
Okay.
And it got really dark very quickly, but I felt compelled to carry on doing it, and I got stuck in a rut in the club scene.
In what way?
Okay, so back in 1989, it was really kind of, the music scene was kind of governed by drugs. Mm-hmm. So it was like year of 1989 was kind of acid house back around that time. And there was a lot of ecstasy, and the whole culture was really fueled by drug taking and music and drugs really kind of went hand in hand. So the type of music you listened to would probably be governed by the kind of drugs that you took, basically.
Okay.
So yeah, that was where it got to, and I was out clubbing pretty much every night of the week, as I said.
In a strange sort of way, that must be quite tiring. I'm just thinking, I was teaching last night, and I got in at like 11:30. I'm quite tired today.
Yeah.
I've turned 50 now, and I'm feeling quite tired from getting in at 11:30. But clubbing's a little bit later than that.
At 50, that would be expected, right?
Yeah.
But like, I was quite young then,
so you could handle it.
And I was really up for clubbing and dancing and just like having this hedonistic lifestyle, and totally enjoying it for most part.
Okay.
Until it got really dark, where I felt like I was almost obligated to do it. And I remember like literally breaking down, crying one Wednesday in my room, going, "Oh my God, the weekend's coming! I have to do this all over again."
Yeah.
And not feeling like I really wanted to do it, but feeling like almost obligated that I had to go out party and everything that went with it.
I always say to any of my crew members that the minute it becomes and I'll use this phrase, a pain in the arse to do, or you're like thinking, then you have to stop doing it, or change how you're doing it, and make some changes. So what did you do at that point if you're starting to feel that way?
Yeah, it just got progressively worse, if I'm really honest. It got progressively worse. Initially, I grew up in an area that was just like riddled with drugs, like hard drugs, like heroin, crack cocaine. And I mean, for me, an achievement would be to look at the people who use those drugs and not to fall into that trap.
Yeah.
And so whilst I was using drugs, they were all recreational drugs, and I was able to look down at people who use really hard drugs and think that I was like better than them in one way or another. But I mean, eventually it wasn't social anymore. It became like almost became like I didn't have a choice. Well, I've always had a choice, but it felt like I didn't have a choice. Like I would just use on a regular basis. Then, the clubbing went, then the social aspect went, and then it just became about using drugs. Okay.
That sounds like a tough period of your life. Well, we're going to have a little break for some music. I've decided on another really cheesy photographic song, if I can get my words out. So, are you ready for this one?
Yeah, it sounds like you've really done your research, right?
Well, sometimes I do research. I know. It's you're not too bad. You're only 5 pages worth of research. Sometimes it's much, much worse. But I thought I'd go back to Duran Duran.
Okay.
So guess what track it is? Can you think about any Duran Duran track that has a camera going on at the beginning of it?
I have to say, I'm not really into Duran Duran.
Are you not?
No.
Oh, bless.
We'll listen to it.
We'll have a listen to it.
I'll learn. I'm open to learn.
It's all right. Let's have a little listen.
Thank you.
There you go. There's the camera.
Oh, wow.
It's called Girls on Film. There you go. Anyway, back with Darius very shortly. Okay, so it's back. It's Richard Beauvoisin and got Darius Jean. Jean, that still sounds wrong. Jean. See, my surname's Beauvoisin, so it's a French surname as well, but I'm not French.
No.
And back in the 1600s, our family came over, so I'm anything but French.
Well, royalty, right?
I can't possibly comment on that. There are some things which I'm not allowed to talk about in public. But, now, just before the music, we left you still clubbing and not really doing photography anymore. What happened next?
Yeah, so it was slow demise into a really dark isolation of drug addiction.
Okay.
And just carried on doing it for years and years and years. And it just got really, really dark, as I said. And eventually I went to rehab and came to Bath.
So what made you, if I can ask this question, what made you make the choice to go to rehab? So you've been clubbing, really enjoying it. It's gone further and further downhill in regards, you've taken all of the fun stuff away and just left with the addiction.
Yeah.
What then made you go from being in that dark place to going, I need to sort myself out?
Okay. As I said to you before, I kind of grew up in an area where it was plagued by drugs. And for me, it was about never actually going there. I think the thing that kept me in addiction for a really long time was being able to look down at people and thinking, well, I'm not as bad as this person, so therefore I can carry on a little bit longer.
Okay.
Eventually, the reason why I stopped was there was no one else to look down on. I was really as far as I could possibly go. And for me, it was like I couldn't really go out like that. You know, I really had kind of... I thought, you know, I had high expectations of myself, always. Even in those darkest moments, I felt like I was something special. Call it arrogance, whatever. But that arrogance kind of saved me in a way, because I felt this is no way that I can go out like that. This is not how my life is going to end. I'm destined for great things, so I needed to stop. And there was like a week or two that was quite dark, and eventually I got arrested, and I'd been in the criminal justice system for a while, because using drugs on a daily basis meant that I needed to do criminal activity in order to get and use drugs. And I got arrested, and when I got arrested, normally I would get a key worker. I would get assigned someone from the drug team and the criminal justice team, and I was like, I'd always be, no, I just need some time out, and then, you know, I'll be able to do it myself. But this time, I asked for help, and I was sent to rehab.
Okay. And
that's when, like, my life changed at rehab in Weston-super-Mare eventually, but I started in Norfolk, and then I came to Bath to be at DHI to get support, and been here ever since.
So explain what DHI is for those that aren't aware.
DHI at the time, because I engaged with DHI probably about 19 years ago. It was called Drug and Homeless Initiative. And so they essentially support people who are on the fringes of society, isolated, and socially excluded. And they help people build their lives back up.
Okay. And what it's called now, the Developing Health and Independence Charity.
It has. It's
been the same letters.
It's been rebranded. It's quite clever how they've done that, because it still means exactly the same thing, but in a much broader term, because they have grown. The company that I engaged with then is nothing like the company that they are now.
Now, you did an exhibition for them, which we're going to talk about a little bit later on, which is great. How did they kind of help you rehab, and how did you kind of decide that it was time to leave there and carry on with your life?
Well, it's a program that they have. They have a structure where they support you, initially giving you supported housing, so you're not out on your own, with a key worker who then guides you into finding out what it is that you really want to do with your life. What do you know? Where do you want to go? And for me, my key worker kind of suggested that maybe I should re-educate myself.
Okay.
And with that, I went to college, to Bath College, and then eventually went to Bath University to do psychology and media degree.
Okay. Psychology and media. I'm thinking a combination of the two together.
Yeah.
It's,
That's exactly what I do now, right?
Go on, tell me, in what way? I'm intrigued.
Well, it's really about psychology, and when you look at an image, you're deconstructing a story, and that's what the media is, and the psychology behind that. So just by merely looking at a picture, you are both using psychology and media.
Okay. I love psychology, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm currently in the middle of writing a book. I was very pleased yesterday. I hadn't written anything since August, and I managed to get another 2,500 words done yesterday. It's kind of like lots of different parts of my life and also things that I've experienced and how to kind of become consistent in whatever you do. That's the basic principle behind it. But my son hates the name, the working title of it, which is Consistently Inconsistent. He hates it to the nth degree, so I now need to find a new name because otherwise he's never going to support it. And,
Okay.
Yeah, it's all about how to become consistent.
Interesting.
And also, as a dance teacher for a long time, that's kind of what I train people to do.
Yes.
But there we go. So your key worker kind of got you back on the straight and narrow, as did being at college and university. And is it then that you became a photographer?
No. At that time, when I was at university, I met someone who then gave me his IT business.
Just gave it to you?
He just gave it to me.
Okay, that's a nice friend.
And I said, I don't know anything about IT. And he said, it's okay, I can teach it to you, because ultimately what you need is to be good with people, and you're very good with people. So I'll train you. And yeah, he moved into my house for 2 weeks.
Now, for those that can't see, Darius's eyes, as he's just shaking his head and going, oh man, what memories they are.
He moved into my house for 2 weeks and brought this manual on how to fix computers. And yeah, it all went straight above my head.
So it wasn't about him, it was about the manual that you were like looking back and going, oh,
the manual,
man.
like learning to fix computers.
Right.
And 2 weeks, and then I kind of shadowed him going to jobs. And 2 weeks later, he gave me the phone and he went off to Spain.
Right.
And so at the time, it was the ads were coming through the yellow pages. So I'd have people call in saying they want their computer fixed. So I knocked the door, and we had this agreement that just before I went in, I would call him, and then I'd go in, and then he'd talk me through what to do. But 90% of the time, he'd say, look, just tell him that you need to take it away. I'd take the computer away, and then I'd call him later. He'd tell me what to do.
Okay.
And we worked that way. And eventually, I started using the internet to kind of do the research as to what was potentially going on and how to fix the machines.
Okay.
I carried on doing that for about 14 years.
Right.
But it never really it never really felt like it was for me.
It's not your bag.
It wasn't my bag, and but it served me well because it enabled me to support my family, and yeah. So I did it for a long time, but never really feeling that I wanted to, and also it became really painful that I would see images in my head, and the realization that those images would never really come to life became really painful. And that's the point I started investing in camera equipment to make those a reality.
Well, you're an artist.
I am.
That's the end result. And when you are an artist, and I suppose being a dancer myself, I'm in the same kind of ballpark, you can't really not do it.
Yeah.
It's always sat there.
I say I've been a photographer with or without camera, because I'm always looking at the light and how the light hits the subject, or just always driving in traffic on the motorway, looking at the mood it creates from the rain and the lights, and just constant. It's just constant. You never get a moment's break.
So now you've completed your IT journey, you become a photographer then?
Yes.
Hey, we've got there.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, and how did you make that choice to kind of go, done with the IT, I now need to be a photographer?
Well, it was initially it was a gradual thing. So I just bought some equipment slowly, got obsessed with buying equipment, and I started using a church just to do some testing. So I'd go there for an hour and do some testing, and then COVID happened, and then I
fun.
couldn't use the church anymore. So then I decided to build a studio at home, and I did that through COVID, and that's where I'm based now, in my studio at home.
Fantastic. Time for some more music. When we come back, we're going to find out. I'm going to try and make sure I say this in the right way. What happens in your studio? As soon as I said that in my head, I was like, that just sounds really, really wrong. But back with Darius very shortly.
Okay.
Somewhere in the city where the air is still, a baby being born to the overkill. Well, who cares what people say? We walk down love's motorway, a vision of love wearing boxing gloves. Kiss.
Lots of people know the Tom Jones version of that, but the original is Prince and the Revolution. And there's Kiss. Good morning, Darius. Still here.
Still here.
Still here, which is all good. So Darius Jean is here. He's all about photography, and we're moving on to actually your photography sessions themselves. So first of all, where do they take place?
Well, as I said, my sessions take place in my studio. I have a home studio. I also have a mobile studio that I take to businesses up and down the country.
I was going to say, how far would you travel for a session?
I was in the Midlands 2 days ago.
Okay.
Shooting a corporate team, management team. So yeah, I travel wherever I need to be, really.
Now, in a really sad way, I have looked at your work, and the verdict is in, because I am such a qualified opinion on this occasion. Classy is the word I'm going to use.
Thank you.
Yeah, and quality. Yeah, everything about it just says you know what you're doing.
Yeah, well, it's been a long road. It wasn't always like that. I started, I got the studio and I started shooting. I got a website together, and I thought I was ready, but I was so far from ready.
In what way?
I really had to learn my craft, to learn to light the face properly. It's been a massive learning in terms of being able to light the face.
I'm intrigued by this. We're going deeper on this. To like the face.
Light.
Oh, light the. I thought you said like the face.
To light the face.
I was thinking, right, so you get somebody comes along that's pig ugly. How are you going to like that face? That's where my brain was going then, but we're not going there, are we? So
there are no pig ugly people.
Are there not? Everybody's beautiful in their own way.
Totally. It's the essence you're capturing, not necessarily aesthetic.
That's a very, very good point. So we're going to talk techniques and lighting and all sorts of stuff a little bit later, but somebody comes along, kind of what happens in a session then?
So basically in a session, what happens is that my ultimate goal is to have fun. So people enjoy the moment, because I think there's so much negativity in relation to having your picture taken. People come with a lot of baggage about having their picture taken, because the memories are generally negative. They've either felt really uncomfortable or got a picture that they really didn't like, or there's a lot of negativity. People are very critical of themselves, and they feel like when they're going to have a picture taken professionally, that they are going to be judged by that image. There's a lot psychologically that people have to contend with before they actually get into the studio.
If you think about it in lots of ways, people's main time they get photographed is either if they're out late at night and they've had a few, shall we say, and they might not look their best, or their passport picture, which, let's face it, is never a good picture no matter how well you try and do it, or you're at a wedding and you're going, cheese, like that, which isn't the right feeling to have for a photo. So that's their kind of image they have of themselves in their head quite often.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's generally like images that they've seen that they don't like, and so they kind of have that association that's what their picture is going to look like.
Yeah.
So it's really about demystifying that and getting people to accept who they are, because a lot of the time my chin's too wide, my face is too round, and my response is compared to what? Because they're always comparing themselves to images in the media and the images that society tell us that this is what you should look like. And so really there's a lot of work about getting people to appreciate who they are, and to be the best of who they are in the moment, rather than who they think they should be or who they think they should look like. Just be you and be the best of you. And it's about doing that and really coaching people to look their best, and everyone's different. Everyone will have a different thing that they need coaching on. Some people would be, they don't want to see the double chin. Some people would be, their eyes they look really scared. Some people would be like, they've got this kind of crooked stance where they stand and their head tilts to one way or their shoulder comes up. So with every person, there's kind of something individual for them to work with and to coach them into bringing out or getting rid of, into getting the shot that makes them look their best.
And I'm guessing this is where the psychology comes in, that you did.
Yeah, totally. It's huge psychology. Like, I just couldn't have imagined that that's where I would be today in my photography, because initially it was all about equipment and it was all about getting the lights right. And I would guess that just because I now have a grasp on that I can let that go and then now really work with people as opposed to working with the equipment, because now it's really about working with people and capturing their character and really going into that within itself and leaving all the technical stuff as they come in, and then just working with people and coaching them to feel comfortable, because it's really about just changing what they're thinking about, because generally people are thinking about themselves, and there are exercises that we can do to get them thinking about, to come out of themselves and to think about what they're doing rather than thinking about what they're going to look like. So then it becomes fun because we're doing exercises and they're trying to do these things that I'm telling them to do and they're laughing. And it's really about getting people to enjoy it and laugh, because when you laugh, the energy builds up and that's shown in your face. And so ultimately what we're trying to create is someone who looks approachable, and that would mean good energy. So when you laugh, the good energy builds up in your face, and so that's really apparent in the image for most of the time, because it's not always what people want. So it's really about what is the outcome we're trying to achieve. But on the whole, I think for me, if I had a choice, it would to make people look confident and approachable. Confidence comes from the eyes, and approachability comes from a smile and that energy that's brought up when you're happy.
Now, how would you deal with somebody that comes along with a preconceived idea? Okay, and I'm going to use this bloke that I know. Okay, just imagine a bloke that has a wife that is a dance teacher as well, and they often get photographed. I don't know who he is. Okay, he's quite a good-looking bloke apparently. Okay, and they have a side. So whenever this bloke, let's call him Richard, okay, and him and his wife, they turn up, and if ever anybody wants to take a photograph, we always go the same way. And I always in my head go left is right, because I always know that my nose is slightly bent one way, and therefore I look better that way than I do that way. But if somebody came along and kind of had that preconceived idea in their head that this is what they want, and you look as the professional and go, it's not quite right, how do you get around that?
Take one of each.
Okay.
And get them to choose.
Right.
Because the shot that I think's the best isn't what's important. The shot that the client thinks is the best and how they want to be portrayed, that's more important.
Okay.
So for me, for my portfolio, I choose the one that I want, and for them, I would give them the shot that they felt really represented them in the best way.
Okay. As I say, the client is always right, isn't it?
Not always.
Well, no, that's not true. Now, I've got a lovely question just before the news for you here. So, do you remember the first photograph that you took that made you feel proud?
Yes.
Oh, go on, tell me about it.
So it was, I was still in the darkroom, a London darkroom, and I was at the time going to a boys' club in London called the Lions Boys Club, and there was a competition, and I entered the competition with an image that I took, and it was an image of a glass building, and in the glass building was a church, an old church. And so what I did, I took that picture and then I processed it in the darkroom, and I sepia toned the old building and left the modern building stark black and white. So what you had was the old in the new of that image, for which I won the National Association of Boys Clubs.
Wow.
I was presented my trophy by Sue Pollard, Heidi High at the time.
Hody ho.
And yeah, it's one that I'm really proud of, you know, because it took a lot of thinking, and creatively it really worked.
And it's art, isn't it?
Totally.
Absolutely. Darius is here right until midday today. Any questions for him, studio@radiobath.com, or you can text Bath followed by your message to 80011.
That I would change, 'cause you're amazing, just the way you are. And when you smile, the whole world stops and stares for a while. 'Cause girl, you're amazing, just the way you are. Yeah.
Just the way you are, Bruno Mars. It's Richard Beauvoisin here right until midday today. On today's story to tell, we've got Darius Jean. I'm trying to get the name right. Is it getting any worse or any better?
It's getting better.
It's getting
for
better,
sure,
is
for
it?
sure.
Yeah. Every week there's always something that I can't pronounce.
You lost the N, so it's good.
Yeah, it's not Darius. Have you been Darius Jean? Have
Yeah.
you heard that a few times?
A lot. Like, people say, what's your name? I'll say Darius Jean, spelt Jean, and they go, oh, Jean.
Yeah. Like Hyacinth's Bouquet
That's the one.
and Bucket.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's a portrait photographer. And recently you did an exhibition.
I did.
Yeah. Tell us about that. So who was this for then?
This is for DHI, again, the organisation who supported me when I came into Bath, supported me through my recovery, and just allowed me to develop into the person I am today. And for me, I like to give back to society, because just the idea of having someone decide to create an organisation to help people like myself, for me, is just an incredible thing, you know, and that just always blows me away. So I think I take from that, and for me, part of my mission is to give back to society, and to help in any way that I can.
We were discussing off air about why you are a photographer now. And why is that? Why are you a photographer?
Why am I a photographer now?
Yeah.
I'm a photographer now because I love working with people. I was a photographer because I loved the idea of creating images, and the technicality of creating images. But now I really love working with people and watching the nuances of how much someone can change in 4 frames taken within the same minute.
Okay.
And that's just really fascinating. It really fascinates me, the human element of being a photographer and working with people. That is really what drives me at the moment.
So what are your methods then? We'll come back to the exhibition in a second, but what are your methods to make somebody kind of feel natural in front of the camera? Because everybody kind of goes, I go back to the classic Chandler from Friends. I don't know if you've ever seen that episode or not, but he cannot get his photograph taken, and whatever happens, as soon as the camera comes up, he just pulls the funniest face in the world.
Yeah.
And he can't do it no
Yeah.
matter what happens. So how do you kind of make that happen?
Well, there are people who just absolutely petrified of having their having their picture taken. Like, really, like, they can't look at the camera. I mean, some people, they have this thing where their lips start quivering when you focus, and I go to take the picture, or they know the picture's going to be taken, their lips start quivering and they just literally can't stop it.
Okay.
For me, it's really about taking people out of themselves. So exercises will do that. So if I get them to do something that no one else has asked them to do before, like, you know, I have this exercise where I get people to practice squeezing the muscle on the lower lid of their eyes, and straight away it gets them out of themselves.
I'm trying to do this now. Squeezing the muscle on the lower lid of my eyes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. It's really quite a thing, because most people have never done it before, and trying to engage with that just really brings them out of themselves. Then it becomes fun.
Yeah.
And then, you know, when I go to the camera, most people will just like pose for the camera.
Jeez.
And the first time I do that, I go, can you just not pose for the camera?
Okay.
I'm not taking any pictures yet. I'm getting the lighting right. And so I'll take some shots, and they'll just like know that I'm not actually using, because I'm just getting the technicality of the image right, and moving the lights around, and it's just literally taking shots of them. So by the time I come to take pictures of them, they've already been photographed quite a few times.
Yeah.
So it's not like as intimidating as it would be if I would just take the picture of them as soon as they came. So it's like getting them to feel comfortable of the whole situation, of the flashes, of the camera clicking, and them not being expected to perform, as it were. And so I make that very clear, that you don't pose for the camera. And with that process, they get used to the stimuli of the camera, the flashes, and they get used to not having to kind of perform, as I said.
Yeah.
And by the time I come to take the pictures, they're a little bit more relaxed about the whole situation.
Now, for the exhibition, there was 25 people,
Yeah.
including yourself, which we're going to talk about in a minute. Kind of, what was the purpose of the exhibition then?
Well, the idea, I did a video for the 20th anniversary for DHI. It was a short documentary about DHI, and I suggested doing another one for their 25th. But Rosie, the director, had an idea that she really wanted to showcase the people who had come through the system. And she said so that she wanted 25 people photographed representing 25 years of DHI, to then create a coffee table book, and then eventually it grew into an exhibition.
Okay. And how did those 25 people, did you select the 25, or did they select
No,
them?
they selected the 25. I was given names and locations, and I would just literally turn up and, shoot there.
Now, you were number one on there. I've had a look at the exhibition. It's online.
Yeah.
Okay, it's on the website. It looks great. The videography, or not the kind of the picture book they use, I think displays it beautifully. So you were number one on there. Who took your picture?
I did.
You took your picture. Okay.
In my studio, on my own.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Did you do your eyelid thing, or?
I think I did a little bit. I did.
Because you haven't got anyone kind of saying, do this, do that.
No, I kind of know what to do.
Right. It's a great picture.
Yeah, thank you.
It is a great picture. But I was kind of looking at it going, I wonder who took his picture.
Yeah, it's not the best.
Is it not? You're not
No,
happy with it?
it's not the best, but it's all I had at the time, and consequently I've taken another one since, because I thought I needed to have at least one good picture of myself. So yeah.
Right. And for everybody else, did they get to kind of, obviously you took a number of pictures of them, did they select the one that was then used?
I selected the pictures. I came, I shot the pictures, and I kind of just went away and then worked out which was the best technically, creatively. But they were all very happy with their images, and they all want to get quite a large size image of themselves. So yeah,
I was going to say, do you have large size images of yourself around your studio and stuff?
No.
What's decorating your studio?
Nothing at the moment.
Is it not?
I have planned to print some images up, but it just hasn't happened yet.
Because it's very sadly in my little dance studio, which is my old garage at home, there are 2 pictures of myself and my wife in dance pose from 2009 and 2010. I generally couldn't get one leg in the trousers that I was wearing back then. Now I've built up a little bit. Let's say I've got more muscular. We'll go down that route. But people look at them and going, "Is that you?" Because I had really dark hair then as well. I dyed my hair for about 10 years. As you can see now, it's got lovely grey streaks in it.
It's great.
It's who I am now.
Yes,
and
indeed.
And yeah, I much prefer the person and the image that I am now compared to what it was back then, even though I was full-time competing. I normally judge now. The website for those that are interested is dhi-online.org.uk if you want to have a look at the exhibition that's on there. And also if you want to donate as well. It's, I say, it is a charity that does amazing work.
Incredible work, yes.
For everybody. So yeah. Now, we're going to talk shortly about kit, okay? Because you've brought in your camera today. Why have you brought your camera in today?
So I brought my camera in today so I could film myself on radio, so I can use it for social media.
Amazing.
But it hasn't worked out very well because I can't use the camera and sit here at the same time.
You can't amend it, can you?
I can't see what it looks like, and I've got my face half out of shot because when it was put in position, I kind of moved, and I'll just have to use it as it is.
It's natural.
Yeah.
We'll go down natural.
It's as good as it's going to get.
Well, for any techie geeks out there, we're going to be talking all about the technical side of it right after this.
Is this love? Is this love? Is this love? Is this love that I'm feeling?
There's Is This Love, Bob Marley.
I wanna love you.
From, when was that from? Who knows? It was from a while ago. That's all I'm going to say. I don't know why I'm wondering when it's from, Darius, but there we go.
That's what you do.
It is what I do, I know. Do you know, I've never wanted to be a radio DJ that says, "Hey, there's Bob Marley and There's This Love. Next up, we've got Ed Sheeran." I just don't think I can do it.
I think you can.
You
do it well.
I could do it. I just don't want to.
I think there's an actor in there somewhere.
Is there? Well, we're all kind of put a mask on to some degree, aren't we?
Yeah, but there's some people who can just really put it on. I think you're one of those.
Am I?
Yeah.
Do you analyse everybody that you come across? I do personally.
Pretty much. Okay. I think for me, if anyone said, "Oh, what are you good at?" I'd say, not sure, but my intuition's quite strong. I feel.
Okay.
I would go with that as my key skill.
Do you know, one of the questions that you've got later on in your quickfire round, and I'm going to tell you it now, okay, is where is your happy place? Okay, it's the last question you're going to get.
I'll answer that then.
You can answer that then, okay. And I was thinking to myself, where is my happy place?
Yeah.
The other day. And apart from being around my family, of course, which for me is always the number one, outside of that, my happy place is on stage.
Okay.
When I'm teaching, or in here when I'm talking.
A real performer.
They are just kind of where I feel the most
that really
comfortable.
Comes across, yeah.
Yeah, sitting in a room full of people having to make polite conversation, that's my unhappy place. But yeah, being here just feels like the most normal thing in the world.
Good.
But apparently I'm not normal for feeling that that's normal.
That's not true.
But there we go. Right, we have a question in. Okay, so Richard has said, different Richard by the way, says, does Darius use digital or film cameras? And if it's film, does he still get that magical moment when the print emerges on the paper?
No, I'm afraid I'm digital now.
You're back to digital.
I had years of those magical moments day in, day out. It's so much easier to use digital. It's quite an art in itself. And I have film cameras. However, it's quite an ordeal to use them. Time consuming, takes time to get them back. I mean, maybe one day I might get back into shooting analog, but at the moment, no.
You don't send them off to Boots and get them back 48 hours later.
Yeah, well, that's just it. There aren't any Boots that do that stuff anymore. So it's like, it's very niche, really, shooting film.
It will be. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about kit then, okay? So first of all, you've got a camera in here, which I'm guessing is better than a £25 camera from Argos. So what kit do you use? Feel free to go as geeky as you like right now.
Yeah, my camera is it's quite dated now. It's a Canon 5D Mark IV, really good camera at the time of purchase.
So when was that time of purchase? You're saying it's dated, but it's like when you buy a laptop and you think, oh,
It's probably about 2 years, 2 years ago.
Okay. And has things moved on that much?
Oh,
in that time?
incredibly.
Oh, really?
Like, new cameras are just, they're just like traffic lights. Every time you drive on, there's another
Right.
set of lights. So, there are some really good cameras out there. But for me, I went to town in buying equipment, and I've come to realise that it's not really the equipment. It's so much more than the equipment. You know, it's, yes, good equipment for good resolution, good quality, clarity, colours. But once you've got those, you don't really need to go off and spend ridiculous amounts of money. I think it's more really about the skill, the ability to light, the ability to get people to come out themselves, to capture the character. I feel that's more important. So it's about being a rounded photographer rather than a photographer with lots of kit, because I always say that I spent so much money on kit that I don't even use anymore. And if I could go back to when I started, I would spend much more money on marketing to raise awareness of who I am, rather than spend lots of money on equipment that I'm just never going to use.
It's that fine balance, isn't it? Because you need to have the kit.
Yes.
But as you say, once you've got the kit, then what happens after that? And I think that's where you're at now, by the sounds of it.
Indeed. So for me now, it's really about marketing myself as a premium photographer in locally and nationally, because people are kind of like asking me to drive all over the country to photograph them and their team. So some more of that. I need to kind of like enhance my reputation online on quite a few different platforms.
Yeah, it's, whether you're on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok. I've started doing some TikTok. Apparently the 40 to 50-year-olds, which I'm no longer a part of, is the biggest growing area of TikTok.
Oh, really?
Which means that TikTok is now immediately unfashionable.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it's no longer for the kids.
Okay.
So
maybe I should jump on there, because I'm not actually on TikTok at the moment.
Do you know what? I
thought it was too young for me.
No, I put a number of posts on there, because the little short videos is what you're looking to do.
Yeah.
And I just trialled it, and I put a little picture of there, or a little video of a slow motion of myself and my eldest daughter when I was up in Leeds visiting her at university, of doing axe throwing. And it got something like 10,000 views, and at that point I had 20 followers.
Wow.
I'm like, who's looking at this stuff?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's quite bizarre. I don't know how their algorithms work, but it is quite bizarre.
It does get out there,
Yeah, so, you need to get on TikTok as well. I don't know what the next social media is, though.
No.
Well, I'll try and work it out at some point.
Yeah, I'm sure
now, headshots is what you mainly do. Why did you choose headshots and not like, here's a family picture, or here's my daughter dressed as an elf?
Initially, I was doing weddings. I did editorial stuff, some fashion. But when I got my equipment and I started doing test shots, I approached an authority on LinkedIn who was on my feed pretty much every day, and she was in PR. And I said, I'm a photographer, videographer, and I'd like to do some work for you for free. And she said, I've already got an in-house team who do that. But if you want to talk the talk, you need to walk the walk. And I was asked her to clarify. She said, well, if you want to be a professional, you have to look professional. And your headshot on LinkedIn isn't professional.
Okay.
At which point I looked at her headshot. And then I researched LinkedIn looking at other people's headshot. Until today, like 95% of them are headshots that I felt I could do better.
I'm now looking myself. What's my headshot on LinkedIn?
And so for me, that's when the spark kind of ignited, and I felt, okay, well, this is something I can do.
Yeah.
I can help people to update their profiles on LinkedIn. And it's just grown because it's not just about LinkedIn. It's about websites and people's Meet the Team pages. It's about email footers. It's about press. So it's just about like having really good quality images to represent yourself.
So how is my
Online.
headshot then on LinkedIn?
Okay, that looked like my first headshot.
It's just a photo of me when I was judging, I think. So
Yeah,
there you go.
it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
That's not
it's
bad.
It's clear. I can see who you
Yeah.
are. You're smiling. You look approachable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm left side. You can see my nose is in the right direction.
Okay.
So
Very slightly. Yeah.
got my chest hair kind of showing a little bit too much, if I'm honest
Nice.
with you.
It's a nice
but,
one. What's in the background?
Welsh champs, I can see.
What are
so,
they?
Yeah, it's a competition that we judge at.
Okay.
So yeah, I've never even noticed that that's what it says in the background.
Okay.
So yeah, there's my attention to detail. But yeah, there we go. There's my headshot. Now talking about that, what about editing stuff? Because we've had some issues with some photographers we know in the past that have kind of done a variety of things and put people in flames and dragons on top of them and all sorts of... And people get quite upset by that type of thing. So kind of what... Do you use Photoshop? What kind of editing software do you use for your photos?
I do very little editing. Very little editing. I do use Photoshop. I use something called Capture One to capture the images straight onto the laptop, so then people can view the images in quite a large format, so they're not trying to squint to look at the back of my camera.
Yeah.
So they're almost looking like an image, like an A4 size. So we can look at all the image and look at the quality of the image and look at in detail.
Yeah.
So they can see what they're going to do, what they're going to get, and if they print it to a larger size. So for me, that software works really well. Then I will sometimes have the lights in the image, because it's the way that sometimes I have to light and get the light in the image, and then I'll use Photoshop to remove those to remove the lights out of the image. But yeah, apart from that, get rid of some blemishes.
Yeah.
And it depends. Generally, I like to portray people as they are without like the filters or getting rid. But sometimes people say, I need you to remove my wrinkles, and I'll do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I won't use it in my portfolio.
Okay.
I kind of use stuff that's really kind of very real for my portfolio. I like the genuine.
So how do you
person.
feel then about... Because I can think of one lady in particular that I know that she puts pictures of herself up on Facebook, and I know her. I'm like, that looks absolutely nothing like you.
Yeah.
The filters are incredible, made her look, shall we say, lighter than she may be, and her skin's immaculate and all of that. How do you feel about that type of stuff then? Be honest.
No comment. I think people do it for fun. People kind of want to, I don't know, they a lot of the time people don't want to face up to the reality of how old they are.
Yeah.
They don't really want to face up to the reality of how they look, and they cover themselves with masks, basically.
Yeah.
I'm not really a fan.
Fair enough.
That's where I stand on it.
Fair enough. We've still got a quick fire round to go. I've told you 2 of the questions already. It's outrageous. So we're going to find out very soon, what is Darius's favourite ice cream? Time for the last part now with the lovely Darius Jean. He's been here all morning. He's a headshot photographer. It's the official title for him. It's quick fire round. How do you feel about this round then?
Excited.
Excited.
Can't
Good.
tell.
Yeah, do you know, I was really pleased. I was listening to Nahal Arthur-Nayaka, who's a Radio 5 broadcaster or something like that now. Very, very good interview. He's been doing it a long, long time. And I was listening to his Headliners podcast, and he said, and it's the first time I'd listened to it since he's gone on to it, and he said, at the end of every single show, we're going to do your encore. That's what he called it. And he said, it's the same questions. No matter what background you come from, you're all going to get the same questions. I thought, I do that. So I was very quite pleased by that. But I've told you the first question. So what is your favourite ice cream?
It would have to be something with caramel in it.
Oh,
Yeah.
caramel one. So like pecan, like there's, what's the Haagen-Dazs one? Pralines and cream. That's got caramel
I'd
in
go
it.
to salted caramel.
Salted caramel.
Yeah.
That sounds nice.
That's
yeah.
nice.
It's making me want ice cream now.
It's too cold for ice creams.
It's a little bit chilly today. Are you tidy or messy?
I am a little bit of both. My studio's tidy, but my house isn't that tidy. I've literally booked someone in to come and help me tidy my house on on Monday. So I think for my studio, it's like pretty much pristine clean.
Yeah.
And it's got scented, and so I keep that completely minimal.
Okay.
And I just chuck everything in my house.
Fair enough. Now, I was talking last week on the show about the fact that I went into a school, excuse me, and I was thinking about the lighting that's in schools for actually learning purposes, about whether there had been any research in, like, what's the right lighting for a learning environment. And as a lighting expert yourself, have you ever thought about kind of, what's the right lighting for learning?
The right lighting for learning?
Yeah,
No,
because if you think about flickering lights, it's really off-putting, or if it's too dark, you feel tired, or too bright, you're there going like that.
Yeah, I suppose enough light so you can see. I really haven't given it much thought at all, really.
Because whether the LEDs are warm light or blue light or all of that type of stuff.
There is actually a science to that. Because the blue light, it keeps you very awake, and red light shuts you down.
Right.
So I kind of met someone a couple of weeks ago who literally sells lights, red lights, orange lights, and different colour bulbs. Who I need to kind of speak to, but she's really into how the lighting affects your neurons. I might put you in touch with her.
Yeah, please do. Love or hate roller coasters?
Oh, I'd have to say both.
Both? In what way?
It's quite enthralling but scary at the same time, right?
That's the point.
Yeah. So I'd have to say I love them, but I'm really scared.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all right. You're allowed to have both of those
I
feelings.
totally believe that. Yeah, you can experience both at the same time.
Yeah. Okay. Important questions now. That gets very deep. Do you hang your toilet roll over the top or behind the back?
I don't hang my toilet roll.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my toilet roll's on a holder that you just slot in.
So it's a sliding one.
And you slot those in, and then when
Okay.
you want the toilet paper, you pick it up, use it, and then put it back.
Right.
So no, I don't.
So you don't have it?
I don't have one of those.
If you did, though, which way round would you have it?
If I did,
Yeah, so over the top, kind of like a waterfall, or behind the back against the wall.
I would have to say over the top.
That is the right way, just to let you know. There is a right and a wrong way.
Yeah, I'd have to say over the top.
Okay.
More accessible, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apart from if you've got kids or cats.
Easier
Yeah.
to reach. 'Cause
Yeah.
you'd have to that extra centimetre to reach it if it's underneath, right? Who needs to do that?
Who needs to do that,
No,
indeed?
totally.
Right, next question then. Told you they're random. Do you eat your chocolate from the fridge or from the cupboard?
Chocolate from the fridge or from the cupboard?
Yeah.
I don't store chocolate.
You don't store it, so you just buy it
I
and
just
eat
eat it straight away.
Do you not have any chocolate at home at all?
No.
Okay.
No, definitely not.
It's a man that likes chocolate, though.
Yeah, I like chocolate, but yeah, it doesn't get stored
It's just
at all.
bought, eaten,
Yeah, and
gone, and done.
Done.
I'm not sure the answer to this one. Do you make your bed in the morning?
Generally, no. I have to be honest. And
Please do.
I know it's a totally wrong answer.
No, it's not.
But yeah, no, I don't make my bed in the morning, and I feel really ashamed to say that.
Oh, you don't have to feel ashamed. You know, we have the pleasure of cushions, and
My mum would never forgive me.
So your mum made you make the bed. So one of my favourite answers I've ever had, nothing to do with that, is Colin Murray, who's another broadcaster for the BBC. He said when he grew up, the thing he was most looking forward to growing up about, is that he could have ice cream before dinner. And that's what he wanted to have. As a kid, he was like, why do I have to have dinner before I eat my ice cream? Yeah. So every day, he eats his pudding before his main meal. And he still loves that fact. Okay. So the fact that you don't make your bed in the morning and you're worried about what your mum thinks, it's okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of should get up and make my bed in the morning. It's how I was brought up. But, you know, I don't have to do that now. So, you know.
And therefore you don't.
I have much more important things to do.
Fair enough. Now, we were doing this on the mic test, but what is your favourite breakfast?
I don't actually eat breakfast.
Do you not?
No.
Okay, why is that then?
I think it's because I'm fasting for about 15 hours of the day.
Okay.
Because I had this kind of posture that I wasn't really happy with, and my stomach would be very bloated. And so I spoke to a friend, and he went on this fasting, had this idea that if you fast a lot that you would actually lose that, and I have, and so I kind of maintain that.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're looking in great shape.
Thank you.
You turned up, you're in a very smart jacket, you look the part.
Thank you.
Which is all good, and you put that down to fasting then?
Yeah, I mean, I have one meal a day,
right?
And yeah, I try not to eat before 1 o'clock.
Okay.
So therefore, like, my body burns up all the fat before I eat, and I eat very healthily. I buy food fresh, and so I eat from source. I don't buy any, well, I try not to buy any processed foods.
Except chocolate, of course, which then goes straight off.
Except chocolate.
Yes.
And we can't store chocolate, or we don't buy chocolate to store it, because we eat fresh, right?
Fresh chocolate. I'm sure that's a phrase somewhere. If you had to do it, what is your go-to karaoke song?
Oh, I there's this song that I used to sing. I can't remember who wrote it, but this is a song that at first I was afraid, I was petrified.
Oh yeah, Gloria Gaynor, I Will Survive.
There you go.
Yeah,
that would be my go-to song. It's one of my favourite songs, really.
Okay.
Ever since I was a little boy, like, you know, really, really young, that song's really stuck with me. So yeah.
And the follow-up question is, would you do a little rendition for us now?
No way.
Do you know, I've asked that question.
I am the worst singer ever.
Are you?
I couldn't do that to myself. Not on radio, for sure.
Do you know, I've asked that question a lot, and the first person that then went and started singing it, I was there going, "Oh, okay." I didn't know how to handle it.
Yeah,
but that is the normal answer.
You won't get that from me.
It's just fine. Favorite TV program or film?
Favorite TV. My favorite film would have to be The Matrix.
What did you think about The Matrix 3 then?
Not very good.
No, okay, that's all right.
But the first one.
The first one's amazing.
It was just incredible.
Yeah.
At the time, I was at college studying philosophy, and the two coincided really well, and it just really blew me away. So that's my favourite film. I think Only Fools and Horses would have to be my favourite TV, because it was just so funny and such iconic in its time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, brilliant, both brilliant. Right, 2 questions to go, and you know the last one already. If you came back in your next life as an animal, which one would you be and why?
Ooh.
I know.
I would be a lion.
A lion? I like a lion. Why a lion?
Proud, strong, yeah, big roar.
Yeah.
Like, to be seen, yeah, really proud strut, and yeah.
A lion's a good answer.
Lion.
I like a lion. And your last question, which I did ask you earlier, but where is your happy place?
My happy place? My happy place is behind the camera with someone in front of it, and they're expressing that they really love the images that they're getting. And
you can see that in people's faces, can't you?
It's just gold.
Yeah.
It's it's their faces, it's the voice, it's the words, it's everything. That is my happy place.
No, sounds a very happy place to be. If somebody wanted to get in contact, website and all of that, what have you got?
DariusJean.com. You can also find me at theheadshopfellow.com. You can have a look at my work on LinkedIn or connect with me on LinkedIn to see my progression. Darius Jean. And yeah, they're pretty much where I'm at.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming in today. Your story's been incredible.
Thank you.
Hope you've enjoyed it.
It's been an absolute blast.
And thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we may get together at some point in the future for some projects.
I will 100%.
Which I'm really looking forward to. Your image that you said about kind of all these different things for dancing purposes just sounds incredible. So I would be privileged if that comes off.
I've always been wanting to work with a dancer. So yeah, in terms of video stuff. So yeah.
Amazing. Thank you, Darius.
Thank you.